Hello there, my name is Kathy, and thank you for watching Crafty Kathy. If this is the first time you've ever been to my channel, I'd like to say welcome. Thank you so much for stopping in and checking me out. And if you're returning, you guys know that we love you from the bottom of our hearts. So if this is your first time coming to my channel, I hope that you will consider subscribing and becoming a part of our little family here on YouTube. We're very fast growing. We have love and laughs and DIYs. The way I look at it is if you come to my channel, I want you to leave with some good DIY inspiration and an upbeat spirit and happiness in your soul. And then I feel like I did my job. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the executive producer. His name is Sebastian Santiago, but on the street he goes by Savvy. And he makes me pitch this little theme song. So, are you ready to hear it? Here on our channel, we got love and laughs and DIYs. 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 Yeah. Ooh, baby. Yeah. You're exquisite. You get better every time, Mr. Executive Producer. So, today I've got some Cottagecore for resale, and I'm going to show you what I pick at the thrift store, bring home, and upcycle and get it ready to sell in my booth. Cottagecore is kind of the new, it's almost like the new farmhouse. I believe it's going to take the place of farmhouse. We'll just see in the next couple of months. I know farmhouse is big, but it's almost like it's kind of going out in some ways and the Cottagecore is coming in. Let's just wait in the next few months and see what happens. But anyways, we've wasted enough time being silly. Let's jump into these DIYs so you can see what I've been cooking up for you this week.
DIY number 1. I got this gorgeous window at Goodwill for $3. I'm absolutely in love with it. And I'm not going to do much with it because I want that old weathered look. I go over it with one coat with the Apple Barrel White acrylic paint, getting in all the nooks and crannies. Now this piece was already aged just because it was old. So that's why I went over it with one little kind of wishy-washy coat. It's not a full coverage, and that's the way I meant for it to be. Now I'm going to speed this part up because all I'm doing is just painting. Once I get my paint on and let it dry, I go over it with a Dollar Tree sanding sponge just to get rid of some of the rough spots. Now there was a few areas where I wanted just a little bit more sanding than that sponge could give me. So I went in with 220 grit and my finger sander and really worked around some of those places. Then I'm going to go in with my Waverly Antique Wax and I'm just going to kind of rough this up a little bit, make it look a little old and weathered. I simply wiped it on with the baby wipe and wiped off the excess with the baby wipe. Then I went over it one more time with my finger sander just to kind of blend everything back in. I noticed when I was looking up on Pinterest for Cottagecore inspiration that ferns are a big part of it. And I have this paper that comes from the Dollar Tree. It's tissue paper and it has ferns on it. I just cut it down into strips. Once I Mod Podge this on here, it's going to absolutely look like it's a part of the frame and it's going to be gorgeous. So all I did is lay it down, no rhyme or reason as to where I put it at. And I just tore off little strips and I put down my Mod Podge. It's a very thin layer of Mod Podge. And then I laid down my strip. After you place your strip down, you are going to have just a few seconds literally to fool with it. So if you need to pick it up and lay it back down, that's okay one time. But then it's best to use your brush or some saran wrap to touch it, because if not, it's going to stick to your fingers and pull right back off there. When the Mod Podge dries, you're not even going to be able to see the white part of the tissue paper. It's going to actually look like the frame came this way. Now, the way I laid this down, I purposely left a little bit of hangover on the sides. That way I could just kind of continue that on the side of the frame, which I think gives it a beautiful rustic effect. I used my paintbrush to maneuver the paper around so it didn't come up on my fingers, and there were very little wrinkles. Now, you're going to get some wrinkles because it's tissue paper, but there weren't many at all. Here's a better view of what I was talking about at the top, like if there's a little overhang right there. See, I'm just adding that to the side, which that's the look I'm going for. I think it looks great, like it's stretching around the frame. I find it easier around all these little crevices and corners to just put a couple of little slits, like a couple of little cuts with my scissors, and that way it lays down flat and there are no wrinkles. A lot of times though, I find if I just slow down and remember to get my saran wrap, which I didn't use this time, I can do it with no wrinkles. However, a few wrinkles doesn't bother me at all. I feel that it adds to the vintage look, and I am totally in love with this piece. Now, some of the fabrics in Cottagecore are linens and drop cloths and that type thing, and I had this flour sack towel, which was perfect for me to use with this. I just cut it and ripped it down, and when you do this, don't worry, it's not going to come off in big huge clumps. It almost comes off in pretty much a straight line. I'm going to place this in the center of a 10-inch embroidery hoop, but first I took off the other seam because I didn't want any seams, and I pulled it tight a couple of times so it would have that frayed look. I am going to spell out the word home with some stencils that I have from Walmart. I have no idea what color this is because FedEx busted a 32-ounce can of paint all in my order, and I'm going with coral. I believe it's Home Decor Coral. Now for the O, I'm going to use one of those transfers that comes from the Dollar Tree, and it is a flower. Perfect for Cottagecore. Now these stencils are from Walmart, but they're Plaid brand, and I can link those in my Amazon storefront down below in the description box for you guys. So then I put my linen inside my little embroidery hoop and I place it together. And on the back of it, I wanted that extra piece, so I just wrapped it around and glued that down because I didn't want it to be so transparent that you couldn't see the word home. So I glued that down and then just cut off the excess. I have a fern pick that I got off of Amazon. I will link it in my store below. And I'm just going to put this up at the top, kind of cascading down from both sides. When I get it right, I simply take a piece of Dollar Tree twine and I tie it up in the middle. And once again, I take that flour sack towel and I get me another strip of it, just cut and pull it. And we're going to use this to hang it from our picture frame. All I did was just glued it to the back so that it would hold the wreath. And then I flipped the picture frame over and glued it to the top of that. Butterflies are huge in Cottagecore also, and I noticed a couple little butterflies on my transfers from the Dollar Tree. So I'm just simply going to place this on the top, and you know, all you do is lay that down and you use something to scratch it, which I use my little Cricut tool, and I put 2 butterflies on there, and then I put one of the flowers down at the bottom. And that was it, guys. I think this turned out beautiful. It is my favorite project of the day, and I'm super proud of this one. Now let's move on. DIY number 2. I got this little chicken for 99 cents at Goodwill, and he's a little small, but it doesn't bother me. I like the big ones, but if you can't find them, you do what you can. I'm going to use this English ivy, and I didn't have any chalk paint, so I'm going to mix up my own. Okay, I don't have the exact measurements, but I'm going to tell you how I do it. I put in my acrylic paint, and you have to use talc. It cannot be just regular old Johnson & Johnson baby powder. And I do have this in my store down below. I bought it off of Amazon because they do not sell it in the United States anymore. You have to buy it off of Amazon. What I do, I think the actual equivalent is 1-to-1 ratio. 1 part paint to 1 part talc. But like I said, I just mix it up until I'm happy. I don't know what I was thinking because I didn't even want to paint my chicken blue, y'all. I'm nuts. So I'm going to use that later. I'm going to use Celery by Waverly. I'm going to give this chicken one good coat, and I'm going to use this brush that you usually use when you're painting furniture, but it is perfect for when you're getting in little nooks and crannies like all the little feathers on this chicken. I didn't show what the chicken looked like before. I will later on in the video, but I simply took him outside and I gave him a spray paint of just white, and all I had at the time was Krylon primer in white. So that's what I used on the chicken. Of course, after you spray paint it, you let it totally dry in the sun. Then I did my celery. This is a very quick and easy project. I dried it and look how pretty it is. I want to show you the color that he is before I use my wax. Now you have to use white wax. So what I do, and you have to work in small sections, what I do is put just a little bit on and then I wipe it off with my rag. I'm going to show you an example of the difference. This first side is with the wax, and the other side is without the wax. You can see the difference there. It just gives it a, I don't really know how you describe it, but I think it's beautiful, and that's what sells in the antique booth, and that's what I do. So I just keep working in small sections as I go. Super easy project. So if you guys are wanting to resell some of your DIYs, this is a perfectly easy one to grab. Anytime that you're at the thrift store, you see chickens and ducks are another big one, grab them. And this is what she turned out looking like. We need to give this chick a name. I think she looks like a Hennifer. What do you think? I think that is a cute and very clever name for a chicken. I think that's funny. And most of mine are named after country music stars. We got Minnie, Tammy, Loretta, Dolly, and Patsy. And there's a couple other ones that don't have names yet, so I'm just going to have to call one of them Hennifer. This is one of those DIYs that the camera just can't do it justice. You can't see how that white just lays in all those crevices. It's so pretty. If you guys did not see my first Cottagecore video, I'm going to link it down below. And if you guys have not subscribed to my channel yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that little subscribe button and that little bell. And that way, every time that I put out a video, YouTube will notify you. We're rolling into number 3, my sweethearts. I came across this clock at Goodwill for $2.99, and every time that I do a clock, you guys absolutely love it, so I grabbed it. And this is where I decided to use that beautiful blue chalk paint that I created. At first, I really didn't know what to do with this clock. And then when I saw that ivy on there, I knew exactly that this was going to be total cottagecore. So we've used the colors, the linens, and the butterflies and the ferns in the cottagecore aesthetic. But now I'm going to incorporate fairies, and I'm going to try to do it in a way where it doesn't look so cartoonish. Now all I'm doing is going over every bit of this with the blue. The only thing that I am not coloring is going to be the actual clock part itself, and then the green part and the stems of the ferns. I'm actually just going to speed this part up a little bit. All I'm doing is painting the parts blue except for the leaves and the stems. I need to correct myself from what I said earlier at the first of the video. I did not mean that cottagecore, I don't think, is going to take the place of farmhouse. There's always going to be farmhouse now. It's a big movement. I just think that cottagecore may become a little bit more popular. It's also called grandma core, and it is very close to goblin core and fairy core. Here is the Urban Dictionary. Is an aesthetic and fashion style inspired by romanticized interpretation of rural farm life. I cannot say that word, R-U-R-A-L, rural. I have never been able to say it, so please excuse me. But it's kind of like a romanticized idea. You see girls floating through like just grass with their arms spread out and these beautiful wildflowers, and I don't know how the fairies and butterflies and all that kind of stuff adds to it, and the mushrooms, but it does, and it is a very nice aesthetic. I really like it. Here all I'm going to do is just add some of the green to my stems and my leaves, and I'm using my celery color by Waverly. But I thought I would give you guys the dictionary's definition of it, because I've noticed so many people calling it different things. I almost look at it as kind of like farmhouse and shabby chic and French cottage kind of all mixed together, because there are farm animals that has to do with it. That's a farm life, you know, and so that's just kind of what it makes me think of. I'm using a very small defined paintbrush. All I'm doing is going back and correcting spots where I may have touched the blue with the green. When I'm finished, I use my craft dryer and dry it completely, and then we're going to move on to a little white wax. The white wax is stunning up against this blue color. Once again, I just work in small sections and I paint it on with my paintbrush and then wipe it off carefully with my rag. I've heard several people that have huge numbers on their channel and who do the upcycles and resell say that it doesn't matter what kind of white wax you use. But then again, I've heard others say it does matter. A lot of them use that DIY wax, which I'm going to get some. And sometimes, you know, you pay a little bit more, but you get a better quality. I'm using the Home Decor brand, and I'll link it down below. And it's done fine for me. I've not had any problems with it. But I do want to try that DIY wax because I think that I would get a better outcome personally. The other day I was in the Dollar General and I noticed that they have a little section that has fairies. And so I grabbed one of them, and she kind of looked cartoony, so I wanted to create in her a more realistic look, and so I took my white wax, that way it would mute her down. The color it created on her dress was beautiful and it matched the clock perfect. I'm just going to pull one of the petals of that fern down and put a little bit of hot glue there, and I'm going to glue her right on that as though she's standing on the front, and I thought that was so cute. I also added a little bit of super glue because I wanted to make sure that we had a permanent bond also. I took 3 of my very small solo wood flowers and I'm going to place them in different places around the clock. I take my Folk Art Daydream color. It is a light yellow, and I still mix it with a little bit of white because everything has to be muted. And I added those two together, and that's what I'm going to use to create just a little bit of color in my flowers. Now the one flower in the bottom right hand corner, it shows more of the wood, and I left that one alone pretty much because I wanted to bring that element of wood in because it goes with cottagecore. Another interesting fact, I found out during my research of cottagecore that it was actually invented by teenagers and young girls on Tumblr and TikTok. Can you believe that? And here is the end. This is my little fairy girl, and I don't think she looks too cartoony. What do y'all think? I'm not particularly crazy about the fairy idea, but I like it when it's muted down like this. I think it's pretty. I can handle a little bit of it. I'm just more of a farmhouse girl. DIY number 4. I did find one of the ducks. I wanted to show you, this was the chicken before I painted her, and this is my duck. He actually has a little lantern in his mouth, and I think this is gorgeous. This was them before I spray painted them. And the chicken, when I did the chicken, I didn't have any of that Rust-Oleum chalked paint, so I had to use this Krylon primer. But just as a personal opinion, I really liked that Rust-Oleum chalked better. I did the duck in that, and I think it turned out prettier. So this was super simple. I pretty much painted my duck, and I wanted to leave my duck white. I didn't want to do the blue color, the green color. I didn't want to do any colors. I did not have any of the black wax, which is what I really wanted to put on my duck. So I just pulled out my handy dandy chalk paint that I buy from the Dollar General. It's the black color, and I'm just going to heavily distress the duck in all the high spots. I'm just going to drag my paintbrush over it, and it's going to grab every high spot in his feathers, and it's going to make it beautiful. I also took his lantern outside and spray painted it white. Now this turned out to be a super fast project, aside from the part that I had to soak it for a while because it was really dirty and I had to clean it up. But look how pretty this duck turned out. I just think this is probably one of my favorites of the whole DIYs. I really love the duck. Now, I like my ducks to be either white or chiffon cream, or my critters, let's just say, my chickens or whatnot. But I did the rooster in the green because of the Cottagecore, and this is still considered Cottagecore, but it's just not colored. This would sell in an antique booth for about $25. I love how the paint grabs his feathers, and the camera just can't do it justice. It looks a lot prettier in person. The light in this lantern was broken and I could not repair it, so what I did was just put a little tea light in there. Cottagecore is just now picking up for us older generations, but this young generation actually really set this off last year during the pandemic, when they were all stuck in their house daydreaming and romanticizing of their perfect isolated spot in the woods, like a perfect little cottage. I always hate when it gets to the end and it's time to go, guys, but here we are. Number 5 is another simple one. Here is what was left of my 32 ounces of paint. I have maybe like 6 ounces left. So I just salvaged what I could and put it in a mason jar. And I'm just going to use some white to paint this basket. I found this basket for $1.99 at the thrift store, and this basket screams Cottagecore. It has a lot of a dark blue color on the side, which I wanted to tone down. I absolutely love the wood color though of this basket, so I'm kind of going to leave that alone as much as I can. All I'm going to do is use my chippy brush and my white paint and go over it in a distressing motion. I noticed that I hadn't been getting very many prayer requests recently for our little blessings box. And guys, if you're new to my channel, that's something that we done a long time ago. We made a blessings box, and I always put out there, if there's anything you want me to pray for, I will pray for you. or if there's anything like that that I can do. I leave all my information down below, how to get in touch with me. That way you don't have to leave it in the comments for everybody to see. And also, I put my Instagram and Facebook down there, so go there and connect with me also. Right here, all I did was take that flour sack that we had left over and I laid it inside the basket. Then I went outside, and all summer I've had 2 beautiful baskets of ferns hanging on my porch, and I put some of those in there because, you know, ferns go with the cottagecore, and I placed a couple of roses there. And I think this is beautiful. Although these projects are cottagecore, they could also be farmhouse. A lot of them are kind of shabby chic. It's just a eclectic mix of kind of a little bit of everything. I've had a lot of people asking me exactly what cottagecore is, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope that I cleared it up for you guys that are asking, and try to help you understand just a little bit better what it is, what the fabrics are, what the colors are, you know, what the scheme is. It's very much like farmhouse to me, and it's kind of like farmhouse meets Little House on the Prairie meets shabby chic, French country. You know, it's its own little, it's beautiful, guys. I really do like it. And the good thing is you can find a lot of this at the thrift store, upcycle it, and do your DIYs yourself at home. And right now, this is the hot ticket item in those antique booths to sell. Here's a couple of pictures of everything all together. And I hope you guys, like I said, really did enjoy it. You know, I love each and every one of y'all. Make sure that you subscribe if you haven't. And don't forget to connect with me on social media. Now I have one of the highly requested skits of the girls. Loretta is sunbathing. She's getting a tan. We're going to Florida soon, and she's getting ready. This is the strangest thing that a chicken does. She's not sick, but check her out. Look at her legs stuck out there like, I don't understand that. Her leg is stuck out like, I don't know. She's just laying there. She's not sick by any means. She's just maybe trying to look sexy. I'm really not sure. Loretta! Loretty, what you doing, baby? What you doing? What you do? I know it's hot, darling. She says, oh, Lord, it's so hot. Go down and get in the shade, sweetheart. That's not going to help you by laying in the sun. Hey, Loretty, that's not going to help you. That's not going to help you. You can't just do that. Okay, you do look sexy, but you can't just lay like that. You're going to burn plumb up, girl. Yeah. Oh, no. Go get in the shade. I'm about to turn the water on where I'm cleaning the pool, and you can go take a bath. Go down to the hose and go take a bath. Whenever I'm cleaning the pool, when I backwash it, water comes out a pipe over here, and it goes hard. Here it goes. And the girls love to come over here and get in this water because it's nice and cool. It's their own little swimming pool. They love it. Come on, babies. Come on, babies. Oh, there she goes. She says, I think I'll take me a dip. Oh, my goodness. It is just so hot out here, girls. They were all right here playing in the water. There they are. They love the water. See, it's their own personal little swimming pool. And they can walk through it, wade through it, look for worms, and do all their cutesy little tootsie stuff. Yes, they can. Hey, Reddy. What you doing, baby? That's Loretta.
And Minnie Pearl. Yes. Hey, Loretta. Hey there, pretty thing. Come here. Are you not going to let me pet you? Okay. All right. You just remember who feeds you. Okay? All right, then.